Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of your six-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com, coming to you on Thursday, October 16th, just days before the LA Galaxy take on their final match of 2025. Kind of. Final regular season game coming up in 2025 against Minnesota United on Saturday. It is Fan Appreciation Day, so we're going to get you ready for that game. But coming up here in just a matter of minutes, we're going to be joined by LA Galaxy defender John Nelson. A great season, really, for him in terms of his personal performance. I don't know that we can highlight any great team performances overall, but we are certainly looking at John as one of the top performers this year on the LA Galaxy. So glad that we're going to have him. There were some rumors about Will Kuntz today that we'll explain. We have the Club America game, and then of course we have the Coachella Valley Invitational, and so much getting you ready for the CBI. To help us do all that, we're glad to have him back. It is Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira. Eric, how you doing, bud?
Doing well. Bring out your dead. Bring out your dead. And then they hit us with a not quite dead yet.
Not quite
Got to
dead
play
yet.
Club America in a friendly. So I'm sure we'll get there. But, I'm really glad to... Is this the penultimate episode or is this the season finale? Because you're going to come back Monday to recap Minnesota,
come back Monday.
right? So,
yeah, I mean...
how does this work?
Tentatively planned right now, come back Monday. And then we're trying to get Will Kuntz on the show here coming up in the next week or so to sort of wrap everything up and do that. So... we have that sort of online for us. And so, yeah, you know how it goes. This is how it goes. Is usually there's a couple episodes that hang on at the end after everything sort of goes away. Then there will be a 2-week break, maybe 3-week break, something like that, where there'll be no podcasts. And then all of you will be sort of yapping, being like, where's the podcast? I miss it. And I'll be like, man, so this is what it's like to have all this free time, man. This is crazy. And then I'll try to find a hobby to fill that free time. 100%.
I think you have several. Yeah, careful.
Yeah.
Don't want to have too many hobbies.
My wife doesn't like it when we don't do podcasts because then I start going, oh, well, we'll see. Let me see what else I can cram in there. Yeah. You and I were both talking. We're both coming. I'm coming off of today my U7 coaching debut for practice because our coach was out. So I got to wrangle the little wrestlers out there, and
it's the best.
There was too much 6'7" from 6-year-olds. All right, it's enough to make you want to throw them in the net, right? So
it's made its way down. Yeah, again, as a upper elementary, and seeing it with a middle schooler at home, it's been a thing, and then to see it trickle down into the first grade kindergarten ranks. Yeah, I've had enough of 6'7". We're ready to move on to some new numbers. It's so funny. I was watching a TikTok, as one does, and as a math teacher, and the answer to one of the questions is 69, and he kind of says it quietly, and no one says anything, and then he says the answer is 67. Oh, and everyone's standing. It's like, I guess we've lost the mystique of some of these numbers. There's new funny numbers for some of these kids out there, which I guess could be worse, right? 67 could mean something, but it doesn't. It's just nonsense. So hey, can't get too mad at it. But I'm ready for it to be done. We're ready to move on to the next meme.
Yeah, I can sort of feel that. So anyway, did that and somehow survived. So they have a game on Saturday. Their coach will be back. You, however, will be coaching the game on Saturday. So God bless you for your what U13s? What are you guys?
They're U11s.
U11s
is where we're at right now. And so I had a coaching debut with Phil. I'm an interim, so I'm the guy hanging around in practice, and the coach is like, this guy hangs around a lot, so we'll have him in charge when he can't make it. And I have the team team's been undefeated a couple seasons here. So, there's an undefeated streak on the line. I coached the last game that the coach couldn't make it, and we had a successful win. And so I'm coaching them again, but we're injuries, player vacations, all these things. So I'm going to be managing the roster. It's going to be a tougher go. We're missing some players. We're going to be shorthanded, but we're going to see if the boys can pull it out.
All right, good. That's good. Hey, I'm going to do something with the camera real quick. So if you go away, we'll get you back. But I don't think anything should happen. So hang on a second. We'll just. I promise it'll be almost virtually painless or something like that. We are working on our. There's this crazy thing called the virtual camera. Have you ever heard of the virtual camera? You don't want to be a part of it.
Okay.
But anyway, the virtual camera is being a little goofy right now. So I just want to make sure that everything was okay. You okay over there? You fine?
I'm okay. I survived. I thought this was going to be like Willy Wonka, where I was traveling, through space and time, over with the Wonka bar. Wonka vision was going to happen here, but I feel fine. Everything seems to be in order. Can we address the elephant in the room that with Skype dying, that not only did the LA Galaxy have a terrible season, but just figuring out all the behind the scenes, and audio and Teams being what it is. It's just, that's an added challenge on top of the poor season has made this. We're ready to move on. We're ready for 6-7 to be done, ready for the LA Galaxy season to be done. And we're ready to find new methods of recording this podcast.
I behind the scenes, I've been working on trying to get Zoom to work instead because it's supposed to be better. And so far haven't had any luck. And sometimes it's just a matter of getting the right combination of things and flipping the right buttons and doing all the stuff that you're supposed to do. And so I'm hopeful that we will fix all of these problems because the audio sucks on Teams and it has for like forever. So I don't need to, I don't want to keep that going. I want to make sure that we get that correct. So we're going to keep working on it through the off season. I have a bunch of people actually working on it and trying to help me. I've been doing all sorts of different things with all the layouts and stuff like that. But hey, you were at the Dallas game whenever the Galaxy played Dallas. Because we got a couple minutes here before
yeah, that's right.
But yeah, and then Dallas comes in and they get that weird red card and the whole day. So I mean, what was your take? I got told by somebody who knows better that Dallas that knows, so I trust them. That Dallas is a horrible team, and I was sort of waiting for hey, these guys aren't that good, and they shouldn't be a problem. It's one of those things where. I think you pointed out, Eric, the Galaxy think that they're sort of they think they're better than they are, but also they're not that good. Like it's this like weird balance, right?
Yeah, it's a fine line of thinking they're better than they are, and then being coached in a way that thinks the personnel is better than they are, and then they go out there and are unable to execute, and things fall apart. Interestingly enough, the things that I'm trying to keep a little bit of a pulse on kind of what FC Dallas is going on. Heading into that Galaxy match, a lot of people around FC Dallas were saying FC Dallas was kind of peaking at the right time and building up to that playoff spot. And with some of the players that they had, I guess since Lucho Acosta has been gone, they've been a completely different team and turned their season around, and they're trending in the right direction. And so that was kind of a continued on that trend. So I think it was a devastating blow for them this past weekend at Dignity Health Sports Park to lose Peter Musa, who's their goal scorer,
right.
Out and out striker, just an absolute baller. And then to lose Farrington is another guy who, whenever we do the Dallas preview, I always point out him because he's someone who, seeing live, you see the eyeball test, like he has it. So to see him get the red card, I think was tough. So I think being up a man for 70 minutes, you expected Dallas to die, but they didn't. And I think that showed validity to what FC Dallas people are saying about how this team has some fight in it. And then, rewinding back a week, at FC Dallas, I thought the team had a great start. They started off with some pressure. Diego Fagundes with an early goal. I'm sitting there in the all-you-can-eat section, enjoying myself, living my best life. The Galaxy are up a goal. And then, of course, unable to close things out, not having the depth to go in and close that game out and, or bring in that extra attacking piece with the players that they had out via injury and via suspension and all the different things. So they weren't able to hold on, but it was nice to go out and see the team. Got to snap a picture with, Diego Fagundes and see the fam, out there. So that was kind of a cool thing to see. But FC Dallas is a team that showed that they have some fight. So kudos to the Galaxy for finally taking care of business again back at home and kind of ending on a positive note, but they really could have done better as well. It seemed like with 70 minutes up a man, you lulled yourself into thinking, okay, we got this, but you really, they needed to gut check towards the end there.
It absolutely was. Well, we'll get back to some of that stuff that we want to get to, but we are joined on the phone right now by LA Galaxy defender John Nelson. John, welcome to the program. How's everything? Oh, hold on one second, John. Let's see if we can get you a little bit better. There we go. Let's try that. How is everything going, John?
Good. Yeah, good. No, thank you for having me.
We're honored to have you. We're glad that you could come by. I apologize that it's taken this long. It shouldn't have taken this long to have you on the podcast. That one's on us. But we're honored that you're here. Let's start a little bit talking about this season. I can't imagine that a season like this comes around very often. I'm not saying there aren't bad seasons, but this one feels like it's a particularly tough one to sort of swallow. How have you been handling it? How has the team sort of been handling it?
Yeah, well, it's been a long season. Obviously, in the off season, had to get rid of some guys, maybe some core guys. But no, it's been tough for me personally. I've never experienced anything like this. I think most of my time in the league, I've made the playoffs. I think almost every year. But yeah, to start the first 16, 17 games to go winless. It really was tough. It really was a grind. And for the team, yeah, it's tough. Of course, I don't expect anyone to feel bad for us, but for a team to go through this, with everything, that kind of happened with injuries and all that, it's tough. It is tough. But, hopefully we can just finish it out strong on Saturday.
For you personally, especially, I mean, one is we were talking to you, I think, after the last game, the win over Dallas and stuff like that. And I thought, you were sort of rightfully, I think, calling some things out. And one of those was, so often you get pegged as the vanilla defender. And if the person who says that is the person who's talking right now. And I've certainly said that. You get pegged as the vanilla defender. Hey, he's a great defender, but he doesn't offer a lot on the offensive side. I think rightfully you pointed out that's not true, and it probably hasn't been true over the last couple seasons. But right. What do you really feel are the strong points of your game, and sort of has that evolved with Greg and the LA Galaxy?
Yeah, no, I'd say over these past 2 seasons, I've really gained a lot of confidence. It's crazy what confidence can do to a player, and I think it shows on the field. Obviously my whole career I've been that defensive player, that defensive guy, good 1v1 defending. Not a leaky defender, someone you can rely on. And, I think for sure the past 2 seasons I've showed, hey, it's not just a defender, it's someone that can be reliable in the attack, someone that can whip in a nice cross, someone that holds the ball for you, can be good in the buildup. I think when we were talking the other night, I said, maybe I contribute to the attack just in a different way.
Right.
And I do believe that. But no, I think the last 2 seasons, especially with Vanny and the staff, I've just gotten this confidence. It's tough to explain. I think confidence is just what you can see on the field when you watch me. And, like I said, it really is crazy what confidence can do to a player.
Yeah, and before I let Eric jump in here and grab one, just I know that it wasn't a great, ending whenever you were with St. Louis, but you've also been in this league for a little while, certainly with FC Dallas there for a little while, going into St. Louis. And the way that ended just, probably wasn't, I have to imagine there were some doubts that sort of creep in whenever you're not going to get any playing time because, they don't want to play you. And then, having the LA Galaxy, Will Kuntz and Greg Vanny sort of picking you out and saying, hey, we think that you can contribute to this team. Was there a low point there with St. Louis?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I never really came out about the St. Louis thing, kind of what happened. Before I got there, they're saying all these good things to me, saying they're going to offer me a new deal. And then the whole preseason and the beginning part of the season with St. Louis, they were offering me something, and we weren't taking it, we weren't going to take it. And then halfway through the season, they realized we weren't going to come to agreement, and they came to me one day and said, hey, since you're not going to take the contract, like you're done, you can't play for us anymore, like you're just going to sit on the bench and train the rest of the season. So, I mean, yeah, obviously as a player, that's never what you want to hear. I was a free agent the following year. And, it was definitely a low point. But I think that was that was a chip on my shoulder. That's really what motivated me. And, I didn't like what St. Louis did to me. And, I did take it personally. So, yeah, no, I think definitely a revamp of my career with Galaxy in 2024. And I played with that chip on my shoulder. But no, it was a crazy year in St. Louis. Obviously very happy for Will and Greg to believe in me and, sign me. Then, but I think I, paid them back in a way. Good part of the squad for the MLS Cup. And, I obviously showed people, this guy can play still.
Yeah, again, the streets are not going to forget the banger against Minnesota. So again, if anyone who says he doesn't bring the offense, he could point them to that highlight reel there. So
yeah, exactly. The right foot.
So you kind of mentioned it that over the last 2 seasons, you've been a contributor, especially on that MLS Cup playoff run, and you've transferred that into 23 starts and 30 games played. And I think that looking at your stats, that's MLS career high. You mentioned, the time in St. Louis, that maybe being a chip on your shoulder, and you've mentioned Greg Vanney kind of instilling the confidence. Is there a particular point that you can point to as a catalyst? Is it the system? Is it, Vanney's philosophy? Is it change of scenery with the LA Galaxy? What would you contribute to having you becoming that first choice starter in your 7th season? And what is it that's clicked, and what is it that kind of helped you reach that level?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's just how Galaxy plays, especially last year with Ricky and a lot of guys. We were good on the ball. I like that. We play out of the back. We're not just going to dump it long and press and be that team. That's me. We're good on the ball. And then at times, with especially last year with our attack, they obviously might not defend the whole time. And then for me, it's like, all right, I think that's where I come into play. We need guys that are stable, guys you can rely on back there. And then that's when I think I really showed well. So especially building out in the 3, good on the ball, good in the build out. And then, on the counter, I think I can stop the counter well, be that guy in the 1v1 defending. But no, I would definitely say how the team plays and just Vanney as a coach. He's given me a lot of confidence. I think he believes in me a lot. So no, I would say those 2 things.
Yeah, and we also had Diego Fagundes on the show earlier this season. I asked him about setting goals for himself heading into a season. He mentioned 7 goals and 7 assists being somewhat of a consistent benchmark for him to measure himself. As a defender, I know the stats might not necessarily tell the story of a successful season. Yeah. So how do you measure a successful season, and how much of that is tied to the general success of the rest of the team?
Yeah, no, I would say as a defender, you want your clean sheets. Obviously, we haven't got a ton this year. I think that's the first thing. You're a defender, so you want to defend. And, with not a lot of clean sheets, it doesn't look great. But no, for me personally, of course, you want the goals and assists. For a defender, it always looks really good. So if we're not getting the clean sheets, it's always nice to rack with a few assists. If you can get a goal or 2 in there for a defender, I think that shows really well. But at the end of the day, I think you just need to watch the games. I might not have a ton of goals or assists, but I think someone that's still really good in the game, you might not be the flashy player. I'm not that flashy player. So someone that's just watching the game, I think you can, you can show up, but yeah.
Yeah. You pass the eyeball test.
That's it. That's what we look at all the time, John, is what do the stats say and what do the eyes tell you? You can always do, you can look at your XGs and all that stuff, but what are your eyes telling you? So no, we've seen that. I have to ask you though, at least according to Major League Soccer, 0 regular season goals, and you were like 3 inches from getting one against Dallas with that rip. Yeah. I think it was a left foot across your body, right, on the full volley.
Eddie played a real nice baller. Yeah, it was close.
Did you think it was going in when you hit it? It was kind of behind me, and I thought it was going in when you hit it.
Yeah, right when you hit a good shot right away, it felt so good right off the foot, just really clean. Yeah, right when I hit it, I'm like, oh, that's got to be in. Then of course it hits the post and bounces the other way, but no, it was. Of course you want to score, but no, I think it was good either way. You're shooting, getting up in that attacking position.
Yeah, it looked like it was going in. So you're going to find, obviously you're finding one against Minnesota. I think that's only right.
I'm due for one.
You are due. Absolutely. 100%. I was talking to Greg today, and, I was sort of asking him, we were talking about guys who have impressed this year. And on the defensive side, he said, he goes, unfortunately with the way the games have gone, the who are you going to really point out on the defensive side when the amount of goals that you guys have sort of given up? But he did mention your name, and one of the reasons he mentioned it is said, you, and I think this is a compliment. I would take it as a compliment, but he said you know what you're going to get with John, right? And it's that consistent, 7, 8 out of 10 every single time, giving that type of thing. Is that something that's in the back of your mind that you are this consistent performer? There's not a lot of highs, but not a lot of lows, and that's a good thing.
Right. No, I agree. It is a good thing. I mean, you need good, consistent players for a team. That's how a team is successful. Like we said earlier, maybe not the flashiest of players and all that, but a good, consistent player is what any coach wants. So, no, I would definitely take that as a compliment.
I also asked Greg today, you look at the first 16 games of the season and no wins. You get to the 17th game, you get that win. And if you sort of look at what happens for the rest of the season, even if you throw out Leagues Cup and don't pay attention to that, but just in the regular season, you guys played, I'm careful with what I say, but you guys played respectable in terms of about almost like a 1.38 points per game. I mean, something that could have put you guys into the playoffs had it been consistent across all 34 games, right?
Right.
Did you guys, and I asked Greg this question, but I want your take on it too. What changed in the second half? Was it big changes or was it little changes?
I think we just needed a win. We just needed to get ourselves out from whatever slump we were in the 17th game against RSL to win. We just needed something. We just needed positivity. Then the Leagues Cup, I think that helped. We played well against the Mexican teams and it showed. It just kind of gave us some momentum. That's really what we needed. I wouldn't say it was a huge thing. I mean, we weren't executing in the first half of the season, maybe some injuries, but we just needed some momentum. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. Eric, you got another one for John?
Yeah, you mentioned a little bit of the roller coaster of the season and catching a little bit of momentum and then maybe ramping back down. From a fan perspective, it feels like we're ready to send this season out to pasture and we're ready for it to be done. From a player perspective, is that also a fair sentiment? I mean, I know you're a professional, but how is the group feeling? Are we looking to next season or are we ready to put this one to bed? How are you guys kind of feeling about wrapping up the season?
Yeah, no, of course. Obviously, we wanted to be in the playoffs, but that's not going to happen. But yeah, of course, we're trying to put this season behind us, but we still obviously have one more game left. We're still focused on that. But no, there was never anything in the locker room where we were just giving up on the season or we were tired of it. Of course, mentally it is tough, to deal with, and physically it's a long season. But no, yeah, we are ready to hopefully finish it strong at home in front of our fans and get to the next season.
Yeah.
Turn That's my follow-up. So what does an off-season look like for John Nelson? Are we getting in the studio, making an album to compete with Joe Painstill here? Are we working on the paella recipe to get in, Ricky's entourage?
No, I mean, we have the off-season training for a bit here in LA for a few weeks. I think we play Club America on the 15th, I believe.
Yes.
And then after that, we are free to go. But no, for me, it's maybe I'll hang out in LA for a bit, and then I'll go back to Ohio, my hometown, Medina, Ohio. I'll see family, friends. I like to give myself a little rest, and then I get back into the workouts, get back into running and all that. But no, you need to give yourself a proper rest.
Yeah.
But no, I'll be in Ohio mostly for it, hanging out, friends and family. Can't complain.
It'll be great. I did run into your parents once on the concourse, and they're wonderful people. So please say hi for me.
Of course, thank you.
My sort of final one in here is you were talking about sort of St. Louis and just you're coming up into that free agent time. You could be approaching that as well. I think you have an option coming up for the LA Galaxy here at the end of the season. Right. I know nothing's settled. The season's not over. Maybe maybe you don't know. But one, would you like to be back with the LA Galaxy next year? And do you think it's going to go that way?
Oh, yeah, of course. I would love to be back with the Galaxy. I love playing for the fans. I love playing for the Crest. Obviously last year was incredible. This year, not so good, but I still enjoyed it. I still really enjoyed putting on the jersey for the fans. It was fun. But no, I would love to be back. I mean, this is the business side of it with pro sports. Of course, I would like to be back. But we'll see. These things take time. That's kind of all I can say right now.
Yeah, I understand. I understand how it'll go. Well, John, we're going to let you go, but good luck with the game on Saturday, final one with the fan appreciation night. So hopefully you guys can close it out with a W, and I'm sure we will see you there at the game.
For sure. Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, always a pleasure. There he goes, Mr. John Nelson.
Appreciate you, John.
An absolute great guy. And somebody who has absolutely been, Eric, a consistent performer this year. You can look across everything, and one of the reasons, he doesn't need to know this, but one of the reasons why I voted for him for Defender of the Year was just the consistent performances day in, day out. And I also like to eat crow on this. I 100% was. How many times have I called him a vanilla defender on here? Like you guys, like a million times.
I'm surprised you said it to his face. Yeah, but again, maybe he seems like someone, he mentioned it, has the chip on his shoulder. It seems like you tell him that, he's like, okay, watch this.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that probably motivates him as well.
Every time it goes, it's one of those crazy things. It's just like you sit there and go, oh, okay, there you go, John Nelson. You know, like he's out there. Just I hope he's like, screw Josh. It's a vanilla defender. I hope that's how he is. No, I just think that he has had a really good season this year. Just in terms of and again, not to copy Greg Vanny, but consistent. 7s and 8s, 6, 7. It's in my head now.
He said 16, 17 games, and it's stuck in my head for
it's
sure.
Stupid. By the way, anybody else who is, it's crazy. But no, so John Nelson, I was talking with Damian Calhoun today. Because we were working on some other things, and I was just calling him after the press conference we had with Greg, and Diego Fagundes talked to us a little bit too. I scrambled into the press conference, so I was a little behind. So I called Damian to sort of get caught up afterwards, and we were sort of talking about guys who might move, and John Nelson might be one of those guys that moves. And to me, I think that there's a good argument right now that perhaps you could sell Julian Aude to some club in Central South America, wherever you want to, sort of put him. Whenever there's the interest, and that you could open up a U22 spot and sort of do it, because I think that there is a consistency in John Nelson that you could put. And then you can look at Harbor Miller, and you can look at Mauricio Cuevas, and then you could look at Miki Yamane. I think one of Yamane, Miller, Cuevas, who I don't think are going anywhere, and Aude and Nelson are going. I think one of those guys is not coming back next year. So I would, and looking at consistency and what you get, and just, again, even if we call it vanilla, it's why vanilla is loved, Eric? Because it's consistent. All right, every time.
What's in my freezer right now?
What's that?
A little pint of homemade vanilla. It's what's there because it still works. And I think, to your point, and this is a joke that I made in a text thread that we were talking about, I said there's gonna be some Argentine club who comes knocking on the door for Julian Aude, and then they're gonna grab him, but who they really could get at a better deal is someone like John Nelson,
right,
and be much happier with their purchase if they did that. So I kind of like keeping him as our little hidden secret here, and that's why I mentioned having a career year in starts, career year in appearances, and I don't think that's a coincidence. He's become our first choice player, and so that is someone who you want to bring back. You talk about consistency. Where did this Galaxy team struggle this season? The lack of consistency from last season to this season, not having Ricky, losing some of those, Mark Delgado's, Gaston Brugman's, those players who gave you that consistent performance. Maybe it wasn't going to be the 10s, the flashes, but they were going to give you what they needed every time. So I think it's in their best interest, seeing the impact that was the hole that was left when you saw someone like Mark Delgado leave. I think you will see an impact if you see someone like John Nelson leave. So I think you're dead on that. Where you're going to get your offers is going to be, on the players who play well. And so it's twofold. I think that you can flash around the U22 and the potential that Aude has, but I think there's injury concerns there for sure. There's durability concerns, and so that concerns you if you want to hold on to Aude. But he's also going to be a high selling point. But the other side of the coin is I think John Nelson has played himself into a situation where teams might come knocking around, and if they want to make offers, if the Galaxy don't and are going to go above a different offer that they bring for him. I think there was possibly interest in him. There was interest in him that, Will Kuntz saw, that Greg Vanney saw to bring him here. So I think now he's only elevated his price in terms of, he wants to get a better deal somewhere else. So that's a danger too, that he's played himself into a position where there's going to be interest for him. And I think that's an interesting wrinkle in this, is we think, if they want to keep him, he's someone that he's a luxury to keep around, but not necessarily. He could be playing himself into a situation where someone's going to want to come knocking. He's going to be an interest in a trade piece or something like that. And that's a credit to him. That's a positive for him personally. But as, someone who roots for the Galaxy organization, you hope that they can keep him around.
Let's call Will Kuntz right now. 2-year deal for John Nelson.
Lock him down.
29 option for for his 30-year. You're getting peak John Nelson right now. That's what you're seeing, right? Now, on the Aude side, if we want to be fair, you're getting a 23-year-old Aude who he's growing into that. He's growing into that role, and so and the U22 means that he doesn't hit a lot against the cap. It's tough. One of the reasons I wanted to have John Nelson on is because I don't know whether he'll be back next year, and because of that, you need to talk to him, so that way we can sort of wrap this up. In a year that was stormy and gray and raining, John Nelson was a little ray of sunshine over there at left back, and the left backs don't get all the love. Although the LA Galaxy have had two or three of my favorite players just to have ever played have been left backs: Todd Donovan, Ashley Cole, John Nelson. I don't know if left backs are naturally just cool guys, but it certainly seems that way.
It's got to be something where one of those things where goalkeepers are maniacs. So maybe left backs are just like the cool, chill guys, and so maybe we something there. We got to do a study on this. We'll dig into years of data. Yeah,
they seem chill, 100%. So, but we'll see. And I think the veteran side of that, the veteran presence side of that. I mean, it goes with Diego Fagundes, who we got to talk to a little bit again today. What are they going to do to bring him back? Can they bring him back? Can they do things? So we will certainly see what ends up happening with all of that. So, but again, thank you to the LA Galaxy. Thank you to Jamie. Thank you to Natalie. And thank you to John Nelson for touching bases with us. Yeah. Truly wonderful human beings, all three of them. And we're glad that we can have them out here. Now, he did mention something. Yeah. Well, go ahead. Did you want to say anything else?
I'll just mention this season being what it was. The players don't have to come on the show. They don't have to face the fans and explain themselves. Now stand in front of the class, tell us what you did. Some of that can very much feel that way in the way the season went. So much respect to any player who's willing to come on and to kind of explain how things were, give us a peek behind the curtain, stand in front of the fans and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is how things went. Kudos to him for taking the time to share that, because that's something that we want to know. Where did it all go wrong? And so to hear from his perspective, how things are acknowledging it, we can look at these players like it's a video game. It's for your entertainment, but they're human beings. They're going through it. He acknowledged it. Yeah, it didn't feel great for us. It didn't feel great for him. And so I think that's important for people to hear, and kudos to him for coming on and sharing that.
Always good. Now, something he did mention in there, something that we haven't got to talk about because it came out on a Tuesday after we had a show on Monday night, but we did have LA Galaxy versus Club America, and we had talked about it on Monday that there was a chance at some point that we would find out exactly when the friendly was going to be, but it was LA Galaxy versus Club America. Saturday, November 15th is your game date for that, and there is, as we talked to Greg Vanney today, he said we needed to do something to sort of make the off-season shorter, right? And so the Galaxy with the train for this game, they get to hold them a little bit, which is funny too, because last year you didn't get a preseason, you didn't get an off-season, right? Because you're MLS Cup champs, right?
I was sure that's a good thing, given how little of a break and maybe the hangover was from last season. So maybe they're thinking the inverse this time.
Yeah, very, very, very well. So they're trying, and that was Greg's sort of thing. We're trying to make the off-season shorter, and so this will give us a chance to do that. It was also pointed out that, hey, this would be a good game for Ricky Puig to get some minutes, and was that part of it. Greg Vanney today said Ricky was visiting with doctors today because basically doing some checks and making sure everything's all good, checking the oil, rotating the tires, doing the normal stuff that you have to do. But his hope was that he would return from this and be cleared basically to participate in training more. So he's working in. Yeah.
This feels like, the Ricky Puig testimonial, and not that he's retiring. But it seems like
see you later, Ricky.
They threw this on here as this is the Ricky friendly. This is there to get a competitive match, like you said, to hold them over again, knowing that they're going to need to come back early and have a competitive match. I know we're going to talk about the CONCACAF Champions Cup draw and when that happens and how that impacts them. So I see the vision on where they're going, keeping it friendly. It seems silly. Why are you doing it this far removed, from when you're going to be done with the season? But I see the logic that this follows, wanting to see Ricky playing in a game and leading up into the CONCACAF Champions Cup, keeping that shorter so you keep that consistency, knowing who's coming back, who's not coming back. It makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah. So this will be the game. Again, LA Galaxy versus Club America coming up on Saturday, November 15th. I believe the pre-sale is over for that. I think just regular tickets are now possibly available for that. So I'll double check as I look at my press release here that's 17 pages long. Dude, they are doing a 6-pack, a family 6-pack, where you buy 5 tickets and you get 1 free. So that might be something. There will be a fan fest outside the stadium starting at 2:30 p.m., consisting of live music, food, team mascots, legends, championship trophies, and much more. So they're really trying to make an event. As much as this is for the LA Galaxy and shortening, it is also, and I think rightfully so, trying to get some more money into the coffers of both
you didn't get
teams.
playoff games. You didn't get playoff game sales, so you slammed the Liga MX team, who has a big fan base, to fill your stadium. I think there's an aspect of that for sure, where it's smart business.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that this is a deal for LA Galaxy fans in terms of what you're trying to get. But if you feel like you want to go, it can be a fun game. The pre-sale was supposed to take place today, Thursday, October 16th at 10 a.m. And then tomorrow's tickets will go on sale to the general public on Friday, October 17th at 10 a.m. So you can look at that. It's at axs.com. Everybody's favorite ticketing. They've been having so many.
It's been down, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
There's been so many
That's
issues
awful.
with AXS. And that's how you get into the, if that goes down, I can't get in the parking lot. Right? It's one of those, you can't get into the parking lot. If that goes down, you can't get into the stadium. The whole deal. So
that's the danger of moving to fully digital, is that's when it goes out, now what? And so you really have to have a strong infrastructure. So hopefully they're able to figure that out, or pursue a new partner if that's where it goes. I want to highlight something I got Jams mentioned. Is this going to be a first team matchup? Is America going to play the guys with triple digits? I think you'll see a little column A, a little column B, because this needs to be the Ricky match. You need to see him out there, make sure that he could run, but you're also not going to risk, having Marco Royce go 90 minutes for this one. So you are probably going to see some, Ventura County players, or some of your youth, your academy players, and I'm sure Club America will do the same on the other end.
Dylan Vanney needs to play in this game.
Dylan Vanney debut. I love it. Let's pump it up as that. Put him on the poster.
Yes, put 100%. Dylan Vanney needs to play in this game. I don't know who I have to petition. I know who. I just don't want to ask him. But Dylan Vanney needs to.
Good point. You do know who to talk to.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't want to hear from me. Trust me. But Dylan Vanney needs to play in this game. And I also think that if you're expecting any more than 20, 25 minutes from Ricky Pooch, let's set realistic expectations for a friendly in November, on November 15th. The whole deal. Realistic expectations are going to do a lot better. The good news is the game does not count. It absolutely doesn't matter, but just enough to get some guys out there and sort of rotate some players through. Eric, one of the other things that sort of popped up, and you talked about it because you were talking about the draw for CONCACAF. Well, one of the reasons that the CONCACAF draw is now doubly important is because there was an announcement that the Coachella Valley Invitational will return, as we knew it would. But we were also sort of questioning whether the LA Galaxy could participate, knowing that they're going to be in CONCACAF Champions Cup, right?
There's a crest missing from those teams on top there. That's interesting. Yeah.
There is. People flipped out. As a matter of fact, I was also I was getting ready to call the Galaxy, and then I actually read the whole press release and I was able to see it. So the Galaxy didn't want to put their crest out on this flyer and this release that came out because they don't want to oversell what's going to happen. Here's the deal. Is that the CONCACAF Champions Cup draw will be on December 9th. That draw will determine whether or not the LA Galaxy will be participants in the Coachella Valley Invitational this year, because there are like two schedules. I think there's an A schedule and a B schedule. And that A schedule is February 3rd to 5th, right? And you're going to get that first one. And if you look at the Coachella Valley Invitational, it's from February 7th to, 14th for MLS, and then 15th through the 21st for NWSL. So there is a possibility that if they get that first one, that they won't be able to participate in Coachella Valley, right? The CBI. So that means that they wouldn't be there. So that's why their crest is not there. They are tentatively scheduled to play in this based on the schedule. Now, I think the other schedule, or the B schedule, is that they would end up playing like on the 18th or something, like somewhere further down the road. And therefore they would be able to sort of fit things in and do stuff. It's very fluid. Here's the thing, and I was sort of talking with some people about this just at Coachella. You have three teams that are really going to draw for CVI, right? You have the LA Galaxy, you have LAFC, and you have San Diego, right? Those are the three teams that are really going to draw for their teams because it's so close and people can drive there, and it's like not that far, right? You can reach out.
And it's become a thing.
Yes, and it's become a thing. So if you don't get, and I would argue that that the LA Galaxy probably outdraw most of those, right? Whenever you look at how that goes. So if you have this event and you don't have the LA Galaxy in it, that's a pretty big hit to income and everything else that you're trying to do with the CVI. It doesn't make it as good as it should be if the Galaxy can't be a part of it.
Yeah, all I'm hearing is Club America Academy is going to be joining, and Cruz Azul Academy. That's who you make part of it to bring those dollars in and make it work. Again, I'm saying tongue in cheek here, but the LA Galaxy have been the spearhead in this invitational, and I think they are the biggest draw by far there. So it is interesting. We've talked about making this, a soccer fest and being what it is. What can you do if the LA Galaxy aren't going to be there? What can you do to make this event more compelling of a draw, so it's not just a nice little vacation for the teams to go out there and have some good weather in the preseason? If it is something where, you do want to bring in revenue from it, then the Galaxy not being involved does bring in some challenges. But I'll say this, and again, we've mentioned that we are not, we're open to take, sponsors and things like that. So I'm just going to throw this out there. If, AEG has whatever influence and corruption that they can put into the draw, CONCACAF is not exactly the most up and up organization. Yeah. Whatever they got to do to get Group B or make it work. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Just connect the dots here. All right.
Yeah, figure it out. Freeze an envelope, put a weight in one of the ping pong balls, do whatever you got to do.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. One of the things that I keep waiting for them to sort of do is mix music into this as well.
That's what I'm waiting for.
I'm like, just come on.
Just right there. You're right there.
Yellow Card just put out a new album. Did you know? I'm going to tell you a story. This is from back in the COG days. Did you know that the lead singer of Yellow Card, Ryan, right? He is was at one point a really big Galaxy fan. And
I did not know that.
He was such a big Galaxy fan. He used to listen to this podcast. And he was such a big Galaxy fan and listen to this podcast that he would DM me on occasion and we would talk Galaxy and all that stuff. Wow. And don't you think I tried to convert that into Yellow Card tickets multiple times?
How is Yellow Card not playing the theme for COG right now?
Right. That's what I'm wondering. So anyway, if Yellow Card... I'm ready to go back. I'm
it's
listening
right there.
to the new album.
The theme is there.
Yes.
Yellow card, soccer. It's there. I think that's the we don't need major headliners. We need a yellow card. I just saw my brother sent me something. Papa Roach is playing some concert for an event. For an In-N-Out, in Southern California. That's the type of, we could bring in Papa Roach. We could bring in Sugar Ray. We can get Yellow Card. This is, make it a party, make it a little bit more nostalgic. You're on to something. Again, if you're listening, Tom Braun, it's right there.
It's right. We're doing this for free right now, guys. We're giving you this gold for free. So, anyway, so that's what's up with CVI. So pay attention to CVI, but here's the deal is if you bought tickets ahead of time, you could get a deal on them. Yeah. If you bought them right now, don't buy them. I'm telling you, don't buy.
That's tough. That makes it tough. Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody at the LA Galaxy loves that. But don't buy them. Wait to see what the draw is because I don't know. Unless you really just love going to Coachella Valley and watching soccer and not watching the LA Galaxy, then that I guess then go ahead, go for it. But this is something we just need to watch it a little bit. Just have some patience. Let's see. I know that the LA Galaxy are working in concert with the league. Dave, if you noticed, all the teams were tweeting out and Instagramming that they were going to CBI like it was this big deal. Oh, like, hey, here's all the teams that are going to be at CBI, and you could see it because more or less because they're part of that tournament, they are almost required to do that. So it's starting to drum up some talking, right? There's some chatter about it. So it's going to be really interesting to sort of see how that goes. The teams that we have right now: Austin FC, Charlotte FC, Chicago Fire, DC United, LAFC, LA Galaxy tentative, Minnesota United, New York City, Portland Timbers, San Diego, San Jose, Sporting Kansas City, and St. Louis. And also boo St. Louis, boo after what John Nelson thought, boo. They're
this is going to be St. Louis is going to get some play here on the podcast tonight. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Man, I didn't think about that. We got more St. Louis stuff and more bad St. Louis stuff. Let's put it that way. Not that I like to just jump in and pour cold water on things, but I absolutely love pouring cold water on things whenever they're this wrong. Somebody said, sorry, this Eric, we're getting old.
I know. Well,
but that's also Aaron. Aaron should know better.
Or he shouldn't. I feel there's a fine line, right? It's like, and Cool Will mentioned, if you don't know who Yellow Card is, their hit is Ocean Avenue, and he said back in 2003. And when you say it that way, that's 22 years ago. There's a lot of, it's like when I was, researching John Nelson, born 1998. It's like, man, he was a newborn in 1998. That's interesting to think about in terms of where I'm at and how old he is. So there are probably a lot of people listening who don't know who Yellow Card is. Fair enough, because not only is it that long ago, it's also that's a very specific. You have to be really into that scene to get it. So I think it's a layer within a layer. Okay. So fair enough. But shout out to great music. Talk about incorporating a violin into your rock group. You don't see that every day. So it works.
You guys should go listen to Yellow Card. Go listen to Ocean Avenue. It's a good
Ocean Avenue bangs. Still hits.
Still hits. They just played with the Jonas Brothers, and they played Ocean Avenue with Jonas Brothers because, of course,
there you go.
100%. All right. No hit wonder. How dare you talk? There is not.
What if they still listen? What if he still listens? Guys, be respectful, guys.
No, not only that, but that's blasphemy.
It's a hit. It was a hit.
It was absolutely a hit. Not a problem. Yeah. So anyway, so that will go that. But let's go on to the other news. Now, breaking today came out a tweet from Ball Watching, a St. Louis City SC podcast. They basically said sources that St. Louis City explored several finalists for sporting director, including Ray, DK, and LA Galaxy's GM Will Kuntz, who interviewed after St. Louis got permission. And so the whole rumor there is that Will Kuntz interviewed for the St. Louis sporting director position. By the way, GM and sporting director for the most part are pretty similar in what you're doing. Sporting director, I guess, has maybe a little more umbrella, but I'm not gonna buy that. That's as far as I'm concerned, they're basically the same. Job description. So there was rumors and there was fervor, and certainly I saw the reaction to it with Will Kuntz being linked to St. Louis City as possibly taking over their general manager, sporting director role for St. Louis City. So I did reach out to the LA Galaxy, but I also reached out to some sources and was able to get an answer from one of my sources. So I will replay that right now, but this is regarding Will Kuntz interviewing with St. Louis. A source with knowledge of the situation could not confirm whether St. Louis had formally reached out to the LA Galaxy, but was confident in saying that general manager Will Kuntz had not taken an interview with St. Louis, and furthermore, that Kuntz does not want to leave the LA Galaxy. It wasn't long ago that Will Kuntz told me that being the general manager of the LA Galaxy is like the best job in sports, right? So he's at
least in the league, There's prestige that comes with that. Yeah.
Well, this is a guy who was with the Yankees and came to the eventually finds his way to the LA Galaxy, right? So I would just like to point out that. So if you're wondering about that particular rumor, there has been no contact from St. Louis to Will Kuntz that I was able to find. The only thing that's sort of up for dispute is whether or not St. Louis actually reached out to the LA Galaxy and asked for permission to talk to Will Kuntz. And then Wouldn't that have to go to Will Kuntz to ask for permission? Don't you
You
call
have to
Will
ask
Kuntz?
Will Kuntz. Yeah, you have to ask Will Kuntz to talk to Will Kuntz.
Yeah.
That's where it turns into some murky waters. Where it raises an eyebrow, and again, not to be disrespectful of St. Louis, but to go from a team who just won MLS Cup to the 13th place team. Again, where is that an upgrade? Is St. Louis on the up and up on where you're going to be joining a winning organization? And that's saying from the last place Western Conference team. I'm looking in the mirror while I'm saying that. And I'll add to that your point of the prestige that comes with being the president or GM of the LA Galaxy, or in charge of player operations, soccer operations, whatever you want to call it. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of enticing jobs in the league that are going to want to sway a person over. The only thing that would check a box would be if it's someone like a Peter Vermees or a Bruce Arena, who, if they were in a soccer operations role,
right,
do they want to go somewhere where they can be head coach and president of operations or sporting director or whatever you want to call it. Will Kuntz, I don't think he wants to coach a team. So to do a lateral move to St. Louis, it seems odd. Now, to be fair, he could be on St. Louis's list. There's an Excel sheet somewhere on St. Louis's front office that says who do we want, and he could very well be on that list.
Yes.
But the likelihood of it happening, that's where things go sideways.
In the midfield for the LA Galaxy, I'd also like Lionel Messi as a striker.
He's on our list.
Yeah, as a striker, Cristiano Ronaldo would fit in really well. He's on the list.
He's on the list.
Yeah,
he's in the ghost squad.
Yeah, so I will give, we used to rank rumors out of 5 stars. I will give this 0 stars, just in terms of where that's at. So I think that Will Kuntz is happy where he's at. I imagine that he's going to stay, and he's got a lot of rebuilding to do. There's a lot of, the ship needs to be put right. He had a great debut, but things, I think, to leave now, that doesn't seem to fit. It seems like not the right time. Well, it would have indicated that there were way bigger problems, right? Like the
Correct.
whole deal. Matt Doyle, by the way, came out recently and said that he doesn't think that the LA Galaxy will have all that much cap room, all that much, general allocation money for next season and the whole deal. I think that there are options within options there. We can certainly talk about buyouts and where that goes. I don't think Zonka comes back. I think you have to figure out if you want Yoshida to come back or what he wants to do. You have to figure out what you're doing for goalkeeper. There's a lot of choices to be made, and whenever you make those choices, there's players to either move places, or there's contracts to buy out, or there's a whole bunch of different things. So I still feel like the LA Galaxy have a good plan of what they want to do. But having said that, and we talked about it on Monday, it seems like they're going to focus domestically, at least for this first open window, just because the offseason, we talk about trying to shorten it for the players, but the Galaxy's front office wants to elongate that so they have time to get players in and players out, and contracts don't lapse until December 31st. But we're going to start finding out exactly when some of these end up coming up. So, by the way, Eric goes into a different Eric, not you. Unless it was you under a different name. Eric says $5 super chat. Yeah, he goes, I'm 51, don't know yellow card. So, did you have to know?
That's the cutoff.
That's
I think
what it is?
You need it to be. Okay. You need to be between 38 and 45.
Yeah.
And if you're not in between that, then you missed it.
Yeah. Okay. So, if you don't know yellow card, have you guys heard of the format before? You've heard of the format, right, Eric, or no? Or was that specific to Arizona?
Am I out on the format? I'm not in on the format.
Okay, let's go back to Tempe, Arizona, 2002, 2003, somewhere in there. I'm in college. Go to a Best Buy where you get your CDs, right? Where you go and buy it, right?
See, I'm of the right age for that.
Okay,
yes.
Good. So going to the Best Buy. It's a fall evening, right? The air's a little chilly in Arizona. It gets cold in the desert. That's how that works. But I go up with my Something Corporate CD to buy. And the girl who was standing there goes,
Something Corporate, I know.
Yeah, Something Corporate. So Something Corporate, yellow card, Something Corporate below yellow card. Yellow card had more commercial release. Mm-hmm. So the girl who's up there goes, oh, you like Something Corporate? I'm like, yeah. She goes, do you know the format? And I'm like, no, tell me about the format. And
the format for what?
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly.
One of those
right?
Who's on first type jokes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, I don't know the format. This is crazy. This, I don't know them, the whole deal. And she goes, go back and grab their CD. You're going to love it, the whole deal. And so the format was an Arizona local band that had some success. And if you heard some of the songs, you would sort of be like, oh, okay. I know the format, the whole deal. The skip to 2 weeks later, I think, whenever Something Corporate came to play at one of the theaters there, who opened for them? The format. There it was.
There you go.
Went right along. Okay. I'm 29.
Wait.
Okay. So Metalhead goes, I'm 29.
Okay.
And he knows who Yellow Card is. So
but I think it's probably with the name Metalhead that it may be a taste in music thing also.
Okay.
That could line up with the correct taste in music. Again, we can name obscure bands from 2003 to 2007 all day long. Are we going to go Sugar Cult? Are we going to go Hello Goodbye? We can start throwing all the good ones out there.
One of my favorite Los Angeles songs is a Sugar Cult. 100%.
They're in the intro, yeah.
They are. Sugar Cult's great. APA format is all in it. This is making me old and sad.
See, now we're all people are saying their age. Yeah, this is I had a Who's on First reference. We are for the children. That's why we have to throw 6-7 in there to
6-7.
Get the youth out. Yeah.
Okay, good. Glad we got that.
And we're back.
And here we go. FIFA U17 World Cup roster 2. I'd like to point out. This is the U17 World Cup roster was announced today to LA Galaxy Academy. Enrique Martinez, defender, he was named to the U17 World Cup roster. And then in the midfielder section, it's Mateo Sakiris is the midfielder there. So 2 LA Galaxy Academy players on the U.S. U17 World Cup roster. Greg Glass mentioned, I think, that they had something like 9 players who went to different international teams across. So not all U.S. I think some Mexico, some in other places, but that the academy is starting to put those out. We've been sort of talking that here's the whole thing, and one of the reasons why maybe you hold on to Greg Vanny a little longer than you'd like to, which is certainly people love to hear that, is that there is starting to be some action from the academy that we're seeing, and we're starting to see those players sort of mature and could, as a group, sort of invade the LA Galaxy senior team and certainly Ventura County. We've been talking about some of them, but you have Harbor Miller and Ruben Ramos Jr. has been in there. Even Cuevas was at one time an academy guy and now has sort of come back. I was talking with Damian Calhoun today because we were talking about the Galaxy needing a 9. And I go, a great 9 that I just watched play and toe pokes like crazy for the U.S. men's national team. Yeah. A little Haji Wright.
Haji Wright, yeah, with the brace. Yeah, let's get him back. What does he cost?
Yeah, that's like that. I was sort of like, is he worth? He's on a championship team, right? Because Coventry City, they're in the championship. He's playing under Frank Lampard, who is the coach there, but he's a former LA Galaxy Academy player. And bring him home. That's what Damien said. Bring him home. Bring him home. Bring him home. Haji Wright. So if you need a 9, but I have to imagine that he would cost you a lot of money. Even that a championship striker
in transfer.
A championship striker that I think is right up near the top of the lead in goals for the league. That's gonna cost you some money because that's a borderline Premier League player, right? If you're in the championship, that's borderline, right? Now, whether or not he could step up and do that. That's certainly a question, but in the championship, that could be something. But anyway, the Galaxy need a 9. I feel like they need a 9 way worse sometimes than they need defense, but defense is certainly going to be something that has to be focused on as well. So
I agree with the 9. I think that's top of your bucket list. If he's what Will Kuntz is to St. Louis sporting directors, a number 9 is on our list that we need.
I feel like that's a SAT question, and I'm already I'm already failing.
Okay. We'll have the semicolon out there. We'll make it work.
Okay, good. Let's see. Let's go to the game coming up. This is the there's a game. Whoa, crazy. Last one. Last regular season game. Then you have the friendly in November. LA Galaxy versus Minnesota United. 6 p.m. is going to be your start time. I believe kickoff should be around 6:10 or 6:15. The one thing I will remind everybody, it is decision day. The Eastern Conference games all kick off at 3 p.m. Pacific time. The Western Conference games all kick off at 6 p.m. Pacific time, right? So that is how they're all going to be grouped, which means you get to watch the most exciting game on the docket, which is Atlanta versus DC United in the battle for the wooden spoon. That is the game I will be watching from the Eastern Conference kickoff there, because if you go and look at the Eastern Conference standings, it's just about placement. There are no spots to be won or lost. It's just about where you finish in terms of on the ladder. Everybody's eliminated below the line. Yeah. Everybody's already in above the line. But DC and Atlanta will be playing for the wooden spoon. And
how serendipitous is that, where your one chance where, okay, you do need to get some points maybe to climb out of the wooden spoon position. The only way around that is if the two teams that are right above you or near you play each other, and guess who happens to play each other? That worked out very nicely in the LA Galaxy's favor to avoid the wooden spoon this season. Again, if not getting it on tiebreaker doesn't make you feel great, but hey, not getting it is not getting it, however you get there.
Yeah, I think your whole idea that last year the LA Galaxy were in first the whole, for most of the season.
The inverse, yeah.
Yeah, and this year they're in last most of the season, but don't get last. They were in first most of the season, didn't get first, right, in the Western Conference. So, again, just sort of looking at how that goes. We talked about it, but McDreamy himself, Ramon Alessandrini, is back, and he will be there for Fan Appreciation Night. So go see Ramon, who's always...
There's a guy who deserves better.
He deserves better, and then also, they're like, hey, let's find a guy who was used to being on a crappy team and have him come.
Here's a guy who knows heartbreak on decision day, or and beyond,
yeah. So Ramon Alessandrini coming in there is something, and then they also have the concessions early, the $4.50 for the hot dogs, the $3.75 for the sodas, popcorn $3, churro $4, and all of those prices are valid up until kickoff. So remember that. The Dia de los Muertos is
bobblehead.
The
bobblehead looks cool.
Yeah, I always love those. We have one from last year, and it sits in my son's room. He still loves it. So that's always fun. So that's sort of what's going on with Fan Appreciation Night. You know that they're going to be giving away some prizes and some other things. So get there early. Enjoy your last sort of farewell to the season. It wasn't the way that you wanted, and it has to be better next year. And we're certainly going to talk about the pressure and how that ratchets up as soon as the season is sort of over. And now we have a little speed bump in the way where November 15th is going to be something that we pay attention to. But other than that, there's going to be decisions that come out. And I believe we're looking right around November 20-something, 23rd, 27th, somewhere in there for roster decisions to start coming in. And then you're going to see how everything plays out. So that's what I sort of have. What do you have on Minnesota United, besides that this is a rematch of the Western Conference, what is it? Not semifinals, but Western
quarterfinals.
Something like
that. Yeah, but still. So that's what I have is, again, I don't know if you have 538 or no, 538. Wow, I went way back there.
No.
D ratings has this with the LA Galaxy favorite here with a 37.6% chance to win. Minnesota with a 35.1% chance to win. So I don't know why or how, but the LA Galaxy is favored. If you look at the Vegas odds here, again, depending on which line you're looking at somewhere between plus 148, plus 162 for the Minnesota and the Galaxy respectively. So the opening line was at plus 155 for Minnesota, plus 160 for the LA Galaxy. So even Vegas is saying good luck if you want to bet on this game. Again, we're not financial advisors. I would guess that you're not going to bet money on a decision day game where the team's probably not going to slip out of fourth place and the team's not going to change their 14th place in the Western Conference. So again, you're playing for pride. And I think when you break that down, are we going to go into the guaranteed to be wrong predictions? Or are we just jumping right into it?
You can go for it. Yeah, no, we can talk about it.
You mentioned it with it being a rematch, and I know they've played each other earlier in the season, but I think if you're looking on what's Minnesota's incentive here, do they want to climb out of fourth place and possibly jump into third so they can avoid a match with someone like Seattle and maybe play a more favorable Austin team? That's an incentive. But I think more than anything is the beatdown or the blowout that the LA Galaxy put on them last season. That may be their incentive to say, hey, this is our chance to improve our position in the playoffs and beat the LA Galaxy. So I think you're going to see a more highly motivated Minnesota team against the LA Galaxy team who struggled all year long. So given how the season has gone, what better way to finish the year than on a loss, given how this whole losing streak and everything played out? I just think it matches with how this LA Galaxy season went. So I think Minnesota wins on a score of something like a 3-1.
3-1. Okay. My whole thing is that when you look at Minnesota is that they haven't played since I think October 4th, right? That's whenever they played Sporting Kansas City, which I think we said earlier, not exactly a great team, right? Sporting Kansas City. So Minnesota, 3-0, fairly easy. The last game was on October 4th. They haven't really played much since, but they are sort of getting ready for the idea that they have to be ready for the playoffs. And is this sort of that step for them where they're like, we have to treat this as a playoff game? Yeah. And so, I think having time off can be dangerous. And so when it's dangerous, you sort of have to make sure that you sort of force this. Looking at D ratings in here, 35.1 to 37.6. These are basically even in terms of who's going to win the game. They think somebody's going to win the game. But who really has that advantage? Or not. I guess they could draw, but at 27, you're right. It's almost split
all the way across.
Thirds,
it's like, hey, this stinks like a draw. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm interested. Diego Fagundes said today it's like one of these rematch games, right? And he sort of understands the importance of it and how it goes. He talked about how it's important just to get this game right and move on to 2026, right? And that this is already playing for 2026. Yeah. I will point out that since 2013, the LA Galaxy have won 2 fan appreciation nights. 2. One of them was in 2017, just in case you wanted to know how that went. If you remember, I'm trying to think last year. I think they did win last year in terms of their fan appreciation night. It was their last game that they lost against Houston. Yeah.
Yeah, it was they lost the game at Houston, but that wasn't the fan appreciation.
That wasn't the fan appreciation.
So that's
night, right?
That's where people get them mixed up.
Fan appreciation night is the last home game, right? Then you have the
not
last,
necessarily
not
decision
necessarily
day.
Decision day, right? And then you have your last. I always do last home game and then last away game because those can be different in terms of how they sort of go. But it sort of gives you an idea of maybe how the LA Galaxy play. But yeah, just twice since 2013 have they won on fan appreciation night. So most of the time on fan appreciation night, they have sucked. That's just generally how
memory. That's definitely true.
Yeah, 100%. I know everybody sort of feels that way with that. So yeah, I'm of the opinion that this gets ugly, and it goes 2-2. And it's just a weird game. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be funky.
Okay.
I think Minnesota's also gonna want to protect themselves and not get hurt and not get to anything. And the LA Galaxy have absolutely nothing to lose, much like Houston.
That's fair too.
Yeah. Last year, nothing to lose, and you have to be sort of careful. I expect in terms of injuries, Royce is out. Greg Vanney sort of confirmed they shut Royce down, and there's no point in sort of bringing him out. I said, are you managing?
He was at the rodeo. Yeah, again, his wife's posting Instagram videos. He's in off season mode right now.
Yeah, 100%. And he should be. I said, are you managing all the
correct.
years he's had on those knees? Is that what you're sort of doing? He's like, yeah. And he sort of agreed with that. He goes, but he definitely did pick something up, I think, in one of the Leagues Cup games where he twisted and hurt his knee. And he goes, so it's better for him just to be consistent. He's doing some training on the field. He's doing that. And then they're letting him sort of rest. So there's no point in bringing him back for this. Sanabria, I think, is also out. Christian Ramirez, I believe, was training mostly with the LA Galaxy. So mostly just Royce and Sanabria now on the injured list. So in terms of guys who I think you could expect, I think you could see anybody else on that. I want to see who starts at goalkeeper. If they're rotating back and forth, and this is JT Marcinkowski's turn again, or does Mitrovic sort of get that last nod? Yeah, to close it out. So we'll certainly see. Here it goes. So if it's like Houston, does that mean Steres comes on and scores for the LA Galaxy? Why not?
Bring him home.
Bring him home. The whole deal. So those are the things I think that are mostly pertinent to what will be happening this weekend. So good luck. I mean, go to fan appreciation night.
Have fun out there.
And yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy being the live soccer. I will be there, but we have, I would like to point out, we do have train runs this weekend as well. So this is our Halloween, so you can wear your costumes. Just make sure they don't drag on the ground. We're going to be decorating the layout. We still call it a layout, even when it's on 40 acres of parkland. It's not just in your basement. But we're going to be decorating the layout a little bit with some of our Halloween fun things that we do. It'll be great for kids coming out from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. On Saturday and Sunday. And then as soon as that wraps up, I will be sprinting home, changing, and then running up to the stadium in order to watch that. So
he does it all.
That's where it is. So that's where we think we got it. Anything else you want to add, Eric, before we get on out of here?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready to say so long to 2025. We will not miss you. And again, I don't know what the schedule is going to be like over the next couple weeks, but as the season comes to a close, I have to shout you out, the Podfather himself, Josh Guesman. I know this season wasn't the most exciting one to cover, and I know sometimes bad seasons give us a lot of meat on the bone, but this one just felt like it was Groundhog's Day with the repetitive nature of the losses, and it really felt like a slog. So kudos to you. You were here twice a week co-host or no co-host, because I know it was spotty this season, giving everyone the most accurate, up-to-date news on this team. So people are welcome to whatever opinions they want on this team, on the podcast, but they can't come at your commitment and dedication to the craft and providing the fans a service, because that is what you're doing twice a week. And so kudos to you. I know you had some benchmarks, personal benchmarks that you met in terms of accomplishing this season and things with the club and exposure and things like that. So to that, I say congrats. You've earned it. It's well deserved. And I'm blessed to be along for the ride on this train that we're on, that you're conducting into whatever the next level or stratosphere that we go into. So kudos to you on another season well done.
I thank you for that. It's been a weird year. I think mostly because the drama was taken out of it whenever they renewed Greg Vanney, right? And it was sort of like, oh well, otherwise there would have been coach watch and everything else that sort of comes with that. And I think the drama was taken out. And I don't think that's going to be a bad thing. I actually expect one is, like, any moron can say that the LA Galaxy are going to be better next year, because it'd be pretty hard to be worse, right? I've said it before. I think they're going to start better than they did this year. It's like, oh yeah, 100%.
Bold take.
Yeah,
bold
I know.
take.
Win one game in 15, and you've done better, right? The whole deal. It's always interesting. Listen, the people on this team are really good people, like the players. In 2024, you sort of had this really good group of guys who came together to win a championship. There's still a lot of those guys there, and there's still a lot of really good guys. And then there's younger guys who are coming in too, and all the younger guys are just amazing people too. So I'm excited to sort of see how they
guys to root for.
How they get Elijah Winder and Mauricio Cuevas, and Edwin Cerrillo is turning into such Greg said that he talked to Edwin this week about just taking that next step in terms of what he can do with things. And if he can do that, the LA Galaxy are going to have an Edwin Cerrillo in his prime, sort of, he's a Mark Delgado in training in a lot of ways, right? And so if he can sort of pull that off, then the Galaxy have something that's working. And then getting Ricky Puig back is going to be so exciting to see. And then that brings up so much drama in terms of whenever he gets tackled, whenever he has a game, whether he's playing, is he playing up to his 100%? Is he still injured? Well, this is going to be really interesting as it goes. So I'm excited that we're entering the off season. I'm excited to get a little bit of time off, but also I usually get bored and then I like coming back and doing more things. There's
a November 15th game to come back for.
And there's a November 15th game that we have to talk about. There's also some players that I've already talked to that want to do some off-season podcasts. So I'm like, yes, absolutely, we'll do that as well. So hopefully we'll be a little more interview heavy as we get closer into the preseason. And as I said, Will Kuntz will be on our list of wrap-ups. Greg Vanney will be on our list of wrap-ups. And so we want to try to get both of those guys on so that way we can talk about the wrap-up of the season and what it looks like for 2026, because I think that's important. So, all right. I thank you for that. I appreciate it. And thank you to you and all the co-hosts who come on and spend time and do all this. Poor Panda has been covering the Dodgers, and he's like, I want to talk about soccer, right? Like, he's doing the whole thing. So he we'll get him back on, and I'm sure he'll be settled in a little bit more as
poor guy covering an unstoppable team on a World Series run. Yeah, it's a tough business. He wants to come back and talk about a wooden spoon contender.
Yep, I know.
That's he's the real deal.
He's a glutton for punishment. So anyway, no, we certainly appreciate everybody who takes their time, and all the listeners who take their time with us as well. So we'll be back after this game. We'll be back on Monday to talk about the game, to wrap it up. We'll probably have one on Thursday as well, just to sort of, wrap up the wrap up and start talking about 2026, lay out our schedule and do all that stuff. So we'll sort of see how that goes into the next week, but hang in there. Usually we do at least one podcast a week after we take a short little break, and then it'll be one podcast a week for a little, and then as we get closer to the season, it goes back to two, and then we're rocking and rolling again and having a good time. So stay tuned for that. All right, Eric, why don't you tell people where they can find you, and we will get on out of here. Let's go.
All right. As always, you can find me on all social media platforms at Hammer EV9. That's Hammer EV and the number 9.
All right. If you're looking for me on any of the socials, at Galaxy Podcast, cornerofthegalaxy.com. Go to SoundCloud. You can go to Apple Podcasts. You can go to Spotify, any of those places. iHeartRadio. I've checked them all. I know some people have had some problems with them. I don't know that it's on my end. I've refreshed. I've done all the stuff that I'm supposed to do. They all get drawn from one place. So if the other ones are working, then all of them should work. But we'll double check to see. Send in your my podcast isn't working to cornerofthegalaxy@gmail.com, and I'll see what I can do. For Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I am Josh Pato Guesman. Big shout out to Mr. John Nelson and the LA Galaxy for coming on today. Everyone have a wonderful time. Thank you for listening to our little Corner of the Galaxy. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye.